What's up? Welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of The Acolyte, the new Star Wars series out now on Disney+. The first 2 episodes premiering of an 8-episode season. I have a lot to say on this, took a lot of notes. I really enjoyed the premiere. I think it's a very exciting new Star Wars show and something we really needed for a bunch of reasons. So I'm going to get into all that, of course, full spoilers. The Acolyte's coming at a great time for Star Wars television, of course. We got the 3rd and final season of The Bad Batch earlier this year, as well as Tales of the Empire, the shorts anthology series, and then The Bad Batch, of course, teased a future animated series with an adult Omega, so we've been eating. And now to get The Acolyte, something that's been in production and in development for several years. Of course, this is the new Star Wars live-action series from Leslie Headland, the acclaimed creator of Russian Doll on Netflix, a show I liked quite a bit. And it has a all-star cast that I think is killing it so far, and we'll get into that. But also is choicely set in a period of Star Wars storytelling that is fresh and new. And this is a show that, because of that, does not require a lot of Star Wars homework, and in fact is, I think, a great jumping in point just for a Star Wars story, because we all know the Star Wars sandbox is so fresh for possibility, and by setting the Acolyte 100 years before the rise of the Empire that, began with the prequel era, setting it 100 years in the past, so to speak, really takes a lot of the pressure off, I think, as for storytelling, right? Because we don't have the Skywalker connection. We don't have the Empire. We don't have a lot of classic, familiar things that to some people might be a bit tired. Star Wars has a vast timeline. Let's explore some of it. And no, this is not all the way in the past like the upcoming Dawn of the Jedi James Mangold movie will be about. But 100 years in the past, just seeing the Jedi Order during the time when the Republic was still cooking, still flowing, albeit as the decline is beginning or underway. It's a great time, I think, canonically, just to set a Star Wars story. And also, I think has some of the appeal of what the prequel era is, right? To seeing the Jedi in their prime, seeing lots of Jedi, not a Jedi Order in distress, not a Jedi Order being reestablished. So, again, a lot of fun possibilities. The Acolyte's 2-episode premiere, to me, is really inviting to a new fan as well as rewarding to a longtime Star Wars fan, because the lack of attachment to any pre-existing storytelling by setting the Acolyte 100 years before the rise of the Empire really opens up a lot of possibilities. But thankfully, the Acolyte has incredible production design through these first 2 episodes. The Acolyte was filmed on real sets, just like Andor. This was not filmed on the volume video wall screens like The Mandalorian, and boy does it show. I think the cast, too, is really engaging thus far. Amanda Stenberg in a dual role, Lee Jung-jae from Squid Game in his first English language role, Carrie-Anne Moss, Daphne Keane, Manny Jacinto, Joey Turner-Smith, who we haven't seen yet, Charlie Barnett. We got some people here. The Acolyte is exactly what I think a lot of people have wanted, which is just a fresh new story that you can just jump into and spend time in the ever rewarding Star Wars world. I was very excited watching these first 2 episodes. I thought it was pretty propulsive storytelling. Of course, there's lots of fun nods and things if you're really deep into the lore, seeing a Wookiee Jedi, for example. There's some cool stuff here. I really can't wait to see what's next. We spent a lot of time jumping across locations. Like I said, I think the production design really stands out. But we're going kind of all over the place. We hit a few planets in these first 2 episodes, but there's a lot of different environments. Things feel varied, which I enjoyed. I really like that first scene where we see Amanda Stenberg go and attack and kill Carrie-Anne Moss's character. It doesn't take long for us to learn that Amanda Stenberg is playing a dual role, playing twin characters, Asha and also May. May, presumed dead. Asha, a former Jedi Padawan who left the Order. So when you see this first scene, which I think is a really great fight scene, I think there's a lot of fun use of force powers in this first scene, but just it's pretty kinetic and fun to watch a Jedi Master fight without their saber, do kind of the toying with I'm very powerful technique, but it's pretty compelling. Initially, when we switch over to Asha's perspective, I was like, are they suggesting this was a dream? But then quickly we understand, no, it did happen. Master Indara was killed. So Carrie-Anne Moss in the current timeline of the show is already dead after one scene. So obviously you'll be spending more time with her in flashback. But to me, it really kind of kicks off to the races from there. I like Charlie Barnett as Yor, the kind of by the book, kind of stickler Jedi Knight character. It's a good, fun characterization. Lee Jung-jae as Master Soul, kind of Qui-Gon coded, you could say. But Lee Jung-jae, first English language role, I think he definitely has the serenity when he eventually fights May in the second episode. I think, again, his power is commanded pretty well. But he has the kind of the serenity that you expect from a master. I think the performance is pretty good. Daphne Keane, playing an alien, all maked up, but it's cool to see her. Obviously, she's come a long way since she was very young in Logan, of course. We also briefly see in like some supporting scenes Rebecca Henderson as Vernestra, the green alien Jedi. And that's just notable because that's actually like a recurring character that's very big in the High Republic comics and novels. The High Republic as a kind of a storytelling vehicle, I believe that began in 2020, 2021. In a few years, been a lot of comics, a lot of novels thus far. There's some nods to it in the last Jedi Survivor video game as well. This kind of end of the Republic, but still in the past time, has been quite storied. And I think it's fun that we're finally getting on live action, exposing more people to it. I like Amanda Stenberg in this, kind of lead role, dual role as well, just because, she's been a rising star for a young time, really breaking out at a very young age, way back in Hunger Games, but she's had a lot of awesome roles. I loved her in Bodies, Bodies, Bodies recently, for example. But she's very emotive with her face, with her eyes, and I think that, she's just charismatic, and the fact that she has to play two roles and seems to be really bringing it her all in the stunts, which apparently she really threw herself into in the production. I'm certainly rocking with it. I thought the prison escape scene was really fun. Also, the show kind of has, more Force, elements to it. Asha having visions, visions of her sister, going back in time when they're younger, things like that. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of that. But the mystery of why May being alive, who trained May, some dark user that's hinted at in the first episode, who trained May, but why does May want to kill these four Jedi Masters? What's up with that? What went wrong? What were they hiding? Obviously, it was something bad because one of them basically admits to fault, willingly taking the poison. That'd be Master Torben, played by Dean Charles Chapman of Game of Thrones fame. I think it's a fun mystery, this also nod of these Jedi doing something wrong, something happened, and we're not exactly sure how mischievous it is. Torben says that they thought they were doing the right thing. This does kind of have a nod to me of how the Knights of the Old Republic comic began with the Jedi Covenant doing something bad as well. So that's just where my mind went. It's a kind of a reference point, a inspiration for this line of storytelling. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that for sure. Dean Charles Chapman as Torben, him just kind of floating there in meditation, this new bearish vow that was introduced in the comics. That's just cool Star Wars shit to see that in action. I enjoyed that. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing him in the flashbacks. We know we're going to see him in Padawan form because, in the trailer we saw him with the braid. We'll certainly get more Carrie-Anne Moss, as we know. Oh, I should note, it was fun to see the Trade Federation and some Neimoidians in the beginning in the first episode. Just a fun nod. Always nice to see them. I thought they looked great too. The makeup design, the prosthetics were really good. It was fun to go to Olega and see another Jedi temple, like a smaller outpost temple. That's always something that was interesting to me. And again, when the Jedi Order was cooking, there was temples all over the place. Famous places like Dantooine and Ossus and things like that nature. And to actually see one in the flesh, just see Jedi throughout the world doing their Jedi things, and also, hearing from May and Jacinto's character in the second episode. Even at this time, the Jedi were still viewed by some as flawed or corrupt, or having their problems, as we obviously come to know it as the timeline progresses. So I'm just really into seeing where this goes narratively. It's pretty cool that the Wookiee Jedi Kelnaka is being played by Junis Sutomo, who played Chewbacca in the sequel trilogy, having taken over the role from Peter Mayhew. So that's a cool kind of continuity behind the scenes thing. If I have one note about the dark user, the one who trained May, who we don't know anything about, the one note I do have is I think the design's a tad uninspired just because it's so familiar, right? Darth Vader, Darth Revan, Kylo Ren, all the Inquisitors, they all look very similar, with the covered face, with the mask, the dark robes. I would just love if there was someone just who looked a little bit different just for that sake. Like this unnamed, bad dude. Like he looks very similar to the Inquisitors and Kylo Ren specifically. So alas, I'm curious what it is. And there was a lot of ridiculous, absurd bullshit about the lead up to the Acolyte because Star Wars is such a frustrating fandom to be a part of because there's so much hot takes and so much bad faith arguing. But so many people were saying that, Ki-Adi-Mundi quote in the prequels, and it was Episode 1, the Sith had been extinct for more than a millennia. That line, that belief of the Jedi Order that the Sith were gone, somehow precludes any dark user of the Force from ever existing in the knowledge of the Jedi in the past. Like, I don't understand how you can be a Star Wars fan and equate those two things. Like, if you were a Star Wars fan, you would know the EU, you would know even other canon. Like, there has always been dark users who weren't Sith. This is not new, and even in this past timeline, with the Knights of the Old Republic and the High Republic, and even before that, again with the EU, dark users existed, dark Jedi existed. So I don't understand why that's like some sticking point for people. It's because it's not actually a sticking point; it's just an excuse for people to complain and bullshit about Lucasfilm under Disney and all that shit. So if that's something you actually believe, you're just an idiot, in my opinion. Now, if you don't like the Acolyte because you're not that invested in it, of course, that's totally fine. Now, to me, I'd have a hard time understanding why that would be. I thought this was pretty compelling hook in terms of the mystery, in terms of the performances, in terms of the production design, the forward momentum for the first two episodes. I think there was a lot here, again, in that past setting that we've been asking for so long. To me, this is really what we've been asking for. So, I'm looking forward to seeing it through because I have high hopes and I thought it was a really great start. Now, because this is only 100 years before the prequels, there are some familiar faces that are alive and prominent at this time. Jedi Masters on the Council like Hero Poof and Opal Rancisis, and also of course, Yoda. Now, and I believe some of them, all of them are in, notably, primarily in the background, but in the comics and the novels of the High Republic, some of them. So they're there. I would not be shocked if one of those, probably Yoda, the most notably, is acknowledged or even shown at some point, but they'll be backgrounded as they should be. We don't want this show to be a Yoda show. We don't want that to be too distracting. Not to mention we get a ton of, quote unquote Yoda with Grogu right now on The Mandalorian. But something to note. But yeah, let me know. What did you think of the Acolyte 2-episode premiere? Are you excited about it like me? Either way, let me know why. And for more movie reviews, TV reviews, Star Wars, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.